Hi, in this session we're going to start importing all the assets that we have spotted from the previous version, and we're going to assemble them into Unity again. So here's a sample how you can actually the process how you can start with Unity. You actually start out with the Unity hub, and actually if you have a scene that you created before, you can just open up, or now you create a new project scene. Over here I already have the previous file. I just need to open up. So opening Unity will probably take a while. After opening that, I'll start importing things from the FBX folder that you saw from my folder I created. So once you open out the Unity, I think I don't need to introduce much because I think mostly everyone will know how to use Unity from previous projects. So typically a game engine usually have these few components. Usually, one you have the outliner, like say the sample scene, like say the menu where you can choose the object in the scene. So like direction light, our camera we can choose from here, and then we have the viewport in the middle. The viewport in the middle is where we actually alternate right mouse button can go, and the middle mouse button you actually can pan, and then you have the prospectors, inspector, or the details panel on the right side for you to change the setting. And of course you have the project folder below where you actually import things into the scene or created new materials and stuff. So without due delay, let's import the things into the scene. So first thing first, I want to put in the block layout first. So layout is actually the file that consists the entire layout of the entire scene. So you can see here, this is how it looks like. So this is what we actually export as a whole from the scene, and we want to use as a layout. We can actually combine them together, all the individual meshes. So first thing, I want to put inside the entire room to the center, and probably change this one to 0, 0, 0. So now probably can actually get something like that. Okay, so it will be on the ground. Then you have the sunlight. So the sunlight itself is from the Sketchpad lesson. You probably remember how actually you can move the sunlight. So if you see the pivot point is a bit strange because it's using a local pivot, so we can just change it to global. Then you can actually rotate them, and you can adjust the lighting to different direction that we want. So probably I want to get something like this direction, but I want to turn this back to local where actually can rotate the lights to be slightly angular, so then I can actually have more, let's say, dynamic lighting for this scene. Okay, so something like that. Change back to this direction again. And of course I think probably if the shadow is a bit too intense, right, you actually can start, let's say, turning down the strength a bit, so you can actually rotate in the scene later on how we can actually adjust further on the lighting. So moment, just keep it something that we can actually see. Okay, so this is probably something is okay, and this one, the pivot points should be right in the middle, unless we have to change it from the center. So the next thing I want to put in is the wall. So let's form the wall together. You can actually choose both of them and drag them together into the scene. Okay, then they create two. Okay, they create two walls. They two things for you. So this one I think probably is, let's say, the floor itself. When you import inside, it's actually by default it will be on the ground already. So this one will change to 0, 0, 0. Okay, so let's double check. So when you try to check, you can actually turn on and off the floor from this panel here, and you see that it should be meshed out nicely. Okay, so once you're confident this is okay, then let's put in the wall. Let's put the wall here. Now the wall itself, when I try to put inside the wall, something happened. Since like the pivot point is not following the example, the pivot point is actually not following the let's say the layout. So don't panic. This one is actually, the reason why is because over here the pivot handler, you didn't change it to pivot point, which is actually put in the center, which is center of all the object you put in the scene. So you probably want to choose the pivot point. Then when the pivot point is actually more accurate, because now we actually somewhere in the center already. So then this is probably match better with the pivot point. So do take note of this when you put in stuff inside, and it should be like that. Okay, so later on we can check whether, let's say, do we need to still adjust the room pivot point because it looks like a bit off from what we intended. Okay, so but not a big issue. So this one probably is the max already, so it's like 0, 0, 0. When I turn off this one, I can see little something like that, and then what I can do is actually I can duplicate this one and I rotate 90 degrees, and I can slightly mash up the wall. So when I turn back in the layout again, roughly it should be remain the same. Okay, now let's we start different. We have to change. It seems like it might be off a bit because it looks like the pivot points doesn't really match this one and this one. So it's something probably when doing the exporting, actually this thing is actually off a bit. But not to worry, let's put in the more important thing is first, and then we actually slowly adjust it. Let's say probably want to put the bigger stuff is actually the depth platform. Let's put in the depth platform here. So the depth platform is something that when put inside here, it should be pivot point that I actually want to put into the center 0, 0, 0. And then I can actually use the block layout to see that now, because we change it to 0, 0, 0, now the best thing is actually we have to move ourselves. This is why it's best to have the layout, because when we put the layout together, right, then we can actually start adjusting according to the camera. Okay, so we adjust the direction, also the location that we want to have is more accurate this way. Something like that. Then you can check again whether this location is correct. Yep, now it's correct. So looking at this, probably is the meaning the wall. It needs slightly to move a bit. Okay, but now we have the blocking layout. We actually can see what we're trying to move. So we're gonna select again this one, and now I just need to move it to kind of match the wall. There you go. So now it's correct already, because okay, using the layout, actually can adjust my wall and my floor. Okay, so looking at this, okay, the floor is probably something wrong also here. If I look at the layout, okay, that means the wall, the floor itself is not actually on the correct size. So I want to check what's going on here, meaning that this probably here the scaling also is a bit wrong. Okay, so when I look at this too, when I double check again, let's double check. Now it's correct already. So the scale is kind of off a bit when I actually imported in. So there's something always be weird every time you put something in. So just always double check again with the block layout. So the next thing I want to put, let's put in carpet. Okay, let's put in carpet here. Okay, so the same thing, the carpet also we going to put in the scene. First thing puts to 0, 0, 0. After that, we slowly adjust it. Okay, using the block out meshes. Okay, let's put it somewhere that actually fit the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so in this case, there should be, so where's the carpet should be around here. Okay, so let's choose here. There's slightly something around there. So I can actually use the shaded form, shaded. Then I can see where I'm actually moving the stuff. So kind of slide it off a bit. So the thing about when placing scenes again, right, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Okay, so if you get something quite close to what is needed, shaded, this one is much better. So we can actually get, there you go. So that was actually quite below, so I actually can move it a bit easier for me to align. There you go. So we can check, let's see if I put it below a bit, kind of like it becomes bottom again. So always check again what I want to put inside the scene. Should be something like that. So then I'll turn off the block out. It should be correct. There you go. Should be this location. So roughly, slowly by slowly, everything just starting to put into place. So now I'm going ahead and massively put all the stuff I need here into the scene, so you can see how I lay out the thing properly. I'm going to go into fast forward mode for you to see what's the end result of trying to combine everything. after I put everything inside and assemble, right, now you can see this. All the assets looks like overlapping with the block layout. So if I want to, let's say, move the block layout away, and you can probably see it's the same duplicate of kind of the same layout that I have in from the previous file. Okay, so the purpose of the block layout is to help you assemble things back again that you actually done previously, and it also allows you to maintain the model asset part that you had previously created, so all the pivot points will be on the same place. So whenever you want to, let's say, move or duplicate these assets seems to be a bit more duplicate, you want to duplicate into another room or so, it's actually easier than with the pivot points all selected. Okay, so this is one of the reason. The purpose of the block layout is for you to help you to plan your stuff, your assemble stuff inside Unity again. So that is one of the reasons why we think it's more better to use this way. So the next thing I want to do is actually, once we have done this, right, we actually can start doing the texturings into the scene already. So in this case, this block layout we probably don't need anymore. So what we do is after you're done, just delete the whole thing again, and we keep what we have here. And then this is where we probably want to start our texturing process with starting with the white color light first. Start with the white color light because we want to see the default lighting and the default color before we put in any other colors into the scene. Okay, so let's go to the next section where we can do materials.